The resurgence of vampire lore in the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages, characterized by socio-political turmoil and cultural stagnation, birthed many myths, including those of vampires. Amid widespread fear and uncertainty, stories of blood-sucking creatures emerged, reflecting deep-seated anxieties and the human need to explain the inexplicable. Historical context played a crucial role in shaping folklore during the Dark Ages. Frequent wars, plagues, and societal upheaval fostered an environment ripe for supernatural explanations. People turned to myths to make sense of their chaotic world and find solace. Ancient civilizations, including the Mesopotamians and Greeks, recorded early references to vampiric creatures. These tales of demonic entities preying on the living provided a foundation for later myths, illustrating a long-standing human fascination with the undead. Plagues and diseases significantly influenced vampire legends. The mysterious deaths and decaying bodies led communities to believe in supernatural causes. Unexplained illnesses were often attributed to vampiric activity, further embedding these myths into the collective consciousness. Burial practices also shaped vampire myths. Unearthed graves showing signs of tampering or unusual decomposition sparked fears of the undead. Rituals like staking or burning bodies were performed to prevent the dead from rising, intertwining cultural practices with mythological beliefs. Slavic folklore significantly influenced vampire stories, enriching them with unique characteristics and rituals. In these tales, vampires were often depicted as revenants who returned to harm the living, driven by a malevolent thirst for blood. The Church played a pivotal role in spreading fear of vampires, using these myths to reinforce moral and religious teachings. By associating vampirism with sin and heresy, the clergy heightened the fear of eternal damnation among the populace. Medieval literature and poetry frequently explored the theme of vampires, often portraying them as dark, seductive beings. These works not only entertained, but also reflected societal anxieties, blending horror with moral lessons and cautionary tales. The connection between witch hunts and vampire hysteria lies in the shared fear of the supernatural. Both phenomena were fueled by mass paranoia, leading to the persecution of those suspected of harboring malevolent powers or dabbling in the occult. Vampires were vividly portrayed in medieval art, often depicted as grotesque, nightmarish figures. These visual representations served to reinforce the fear and mystery surrounding them, making the legends even more pervasive and terrifying in the collective imagination. Vampire myths varied widely across Europe, with each region adding its unique elements. In Romania, the strigoi were feared, while Greece had tales of the vrikalakas. Each culture's interpretation contributed to a rich tapestry of vampire lore. Superstition played a significant role in the rise of vampire myths. People sought explanations for mysterious deaths and misfortunes. Vampires became a convenient scapegoat, embodying fears and anxieties in a time when science couldn't provide answers. Famous vampire cases from the Dark Ages often involved exhumations and rituals. Reports of staked corpses and preventive measures like garlic or holy water fueled the hysteria. These stories spread, reinforcing the belief in vampires' existence. The vampire myth evolved from a monstrous creature to an aristocratic figure, symbolizing power and seduction. This transformation reflected societal changes and the growing fascination with the allure of the undead, blending horror with sophistication. Concepts of the undead mirrored societal fears, particularly of death and decay. Vampires represented the ultimate fear of returning from the grave, challenging the natural order and embodying anxieties about mortality and the unknown. Astronomy and the night profoundly influenced vampire myths, as the moon's phases and the darkness were often associated with sinister forces. Nighttime evoked fear, making it the perfect backdrop for tales of bloodthirsty creatures lurking in the shadows. Vampire myths served as explanations for mysterious deaths, providing a supernatural rationale when medical knowledge was limited. Communities blamed vampires for inexplicable passings, seeking comfort in the idea of an identifiable villain rather than random misfortune. Oral tradition played a crucial role in preserving vampire stories, allowing them to evolve with each retelling. These tales were passed down through generations, ensuring that the fear and fascination surrounding vampires remained alive in collective memory. Vampire myths had a significant psychological impact on medieval populations, feeding into existing anxieties about death and the afterlife. The omnipresent fear of vampires created a shared cultural tension, influencing behavior and societal norms during the Dark Ages. The transition of vampire myths from rural to urban settings marked a shift in their narrative. As cities grew, so did the tales of vampires, adapting to new environments and reflecting the changing fears and dynamics of increasingly urbanized societies. Trade and travel played a pivotal role in spreading vampire legends across Europe. Merchants and travelers carried tales of blood-sucking creatures to new regions, blending local myths with foreign lore, creating a rich tapestry of vampire stories. Vampire myths were often used to control and manipulate people, instilling fear and maintaining social order. Authorities exploited these legends, attributing unexplained deaths to vampiric activity, thus diverting attention from more tangible societal issues. The relationship between vampire myths and fears of the other is profound. Vampires often symbolized outsiders, embodying societal anxieties about strangers or marginalized groups. This fear of the unknown fueled prejudices and reinforced community boundaries. Folklore collectors played a crucial role in documenting vampire stories, preserving oral traditions for posterity. Their efforts ensured that these myths were recorded and studied, providing valuable insights into the cultural and psychological landscape of medieval Europe. Vampire myths have significantly influenced modern horror genres. Classic literature and contemporary films draw heavily from these ancient legends, continually reinventing the vampire archetype. This enduring fascination underscores the timeless nature of humanity's fear of the unknown. Vampire myths often symbolize humanity's intrinsic fear of death and the unknown. They personify the anxieties surrounding mortality, offering a tangible representation of intangible fears. This psychological depth makes vampire narratives enduring and universally resonant across different cultures. Women frequently play pivotal roles in vampire myths, either as victims or enchantresses. These stories reflect societal anxieties about female power and sexuality, often reinforcing or challenging traditional gender norms. The portrayal of women in these myths carries significant cultural implications. Vampire myths have historically been utilized as tools for political and social propaganda. Authorities exploited these tales to instill fear, control populations, and justify actions against perceived enemies. By demonizing the other, these myths serve to unite communities against common threats. The 19th century witnessed a resurgence of interest in vampire myths, influenced by Gothic literature and Romanticism. Authors like Bram Stoker reimagined these legends, blending folklore with contemporary anxieties. This period solidified the vampire's place in modern horror genres and popular culture. The legacy of vampire myths endures from the Dark Ages to today, evolving with each retelling. These stories transcend time, reflecting ongoing human fears and societal changes. Their adaptability ensures that vampire myths remain a compelling part of our cultural narrative.